I worked 40 years at the same company. Now I sleep on a park bench I used to eat lunch on. My name is Margaret. I'm 62, and last night I watched the sunrise from the same park where I used to eat sandwiches on my lunch break. 3 years ago, I had a reserved parking spot with my name on it, a jade plant on my desk, and enough savings to feel safe. People think homelessness comes from bad choices. Mine came from one test result. The mammogram was routine until it wasn't. Then came the treatments that ate through $40,000. The merger that eliminated my position while I was bald and vomiting. The pension that couldn't cover rent. I didn't fall off a cliff. I slid downstairs, each one looking survivable. First the apartment, then the hotel, then the car, then the bench. My old supervisor sees me sometimes. He looks away fast. The young workers hurry past like I'm invisible. But I know every tree in that parking lot. Every door code that still works. Every bathroom that stays unlocked. Let me tell you about the day they handed me retirement papers in the hospital and the signature that started my disappearance. When 40 years of perfect attendance meets one diagnosis, which breaks first, your body or everything you built. They gave me a jade plant for my 40th anniversary at Sentinel Technologies, and I remember thinking it looked too green against the beige walls of the break room. March 15th, 2021. A Monday. Dennis had ordered a sheet cake from Safeway with "Congratulations, Margaret," written in blue frosting that stained everyone's teeth. 40 years, Dennis said, holding up a plastic cup of apple juice like it was champagne. That's longer than I've been alive. The 12 people gathered around the conference table laughed politely. Most of them I'd trained over the years. Jennifer from the night shift, Raj who'd started just 6 months ago, Linda who always microwaved fish in the break room. They knew me as Maggie from Quality Control, the one who caught things others missed, the one who stayed late checking batch reports, the one who never called in sick. Say something, Dennis prompted, that nervous smile he got when he had to manage people instead of processes. I held the jade plant in its ceramic pot, heavier than expected. Thank you. I'll try to keep it alive longer than the last one. More polite laughter. They didn't know there'd never been a last one. I'd never kept plants. Never saw the point when I spent 12 hours a day under fluorescent lights checking semiconductor wafers for defects invisible to the naked eye. After 15 minutes, people drifted back to their stations. I carried the jade plant to my desk in Building C, past the clean rooms where I'd spent most of my adult life, past the wall of patents where my name appeared in tiny print on 3 of them. My workstation sat in the corner, perfect view of the parking lot where my assigned spot was 3rd row from the entrance. Margaret Shun, the placard read. Employee since 1981. I set the plant on the windowsill and opened my quality control notebook. Batch 447, B needed reviewing. The new supplier in Taiwan had been sending wafers with inconsistent oxide layers. I pulled up the magnification on my monitor, zooming until the silicon looked like the surface of an alien planet. This was what I knew. This was what made sense. Defects you could measure in nanometers. Problems you could document and solve at 7 p.m. I locked my desk drawers and walked to my Honda Accord. The jade plant would be fine overnight. Plants didn't need much, some light, some water, some stability. The drive home took 23 minutes on 237 to my apartment complex in Milpitas. 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, $2,800 a month, but rent-controlled, so it only went up 3% each year. I'd done the math. Staying was cheaper than moving. Inside, I heated leftover rice and chicken from Sunday, ate standing at the counter while reviewing tomorrow's inspection schedule on my laptop. The apartment was quiet except for the upstairs neighbor's TV bleeding through the ceiling. I'd lived here 12 years. Never had anyone over except the maintenance guy. When the disposal broke, the MY bank statement sat unopened on the counter. I already knew what it would say, $47,000 in savings, $12,000 in checking. Another $89,000 in my 401k that I couldn't touch for another 3 years without penalties. Numbers that meant security. Numbers that meant I could handle whatever came next. I washed my single plate, single fork, and was in bed by 10:30. Tomorrow would be Tuesday. Batch 448. It would arrive from the night shift. I'd been doing this for 40 years, 14,600 days, give or take. The sameness of it felt like safety. On my dresser, the appointment reminder card from Kaiser caught the light from the hallway. Tuesday, March 23rd, 2 p.m. Annual mammogram. I'd rescheduled it twice already, once for a critical batch review, once for supplier audit. This time I'd go, clear the requirement, check the box, get back to work. That I fell asleep thinking about oxide layers and defect rates, about the jade plant alone on the windowsill, about whether anyone would notice if I worked another 40 years. The alarm would ring at 5:30 a.m. It always did. The waiting room at Kaiser smelled like hand sanitizer and fear. April 20th, a month after they'd called me back for additional imaging. I'd driven here straight from Sentinel, told Dennis I had a dental appointment. Easier than explaining the callback, the follow-up, the biopsy that left a bruise shaped like Australia on my left breast. Margaret Chun, a nurse in purple scrubs holding a clipboard that I followed her down a hallway lined with breast cancer awareness posters, pink ribbons, and smiling survivors. The examination room was cold. Dr. Patel came in carrying a folder thick with test results, her face already telling me what the papers would confirm. "I want to be direct with you," she said, sitting on the rolling stool so we were eye level. "The biopsy shows invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2B. I pulled out my quality control notebook, the same kind I'd been using for decades. Blue lines, spiral bound. "What's the defect rate?" She blinked. "I'm sorry. Survival rate. After treatment. With aggressive treatment, 5-year survival is around 85% for your staging." I wrote it down. 85%. Better odds than most batches that came through quality control. Treatment timeline: 6 months of chemotherapy, then surgery, then radiation. "We can start next week if..." "Cost." Dr. Patel shifted on her stool. "With your insurance, you're looking at a $3,000 deductible, then 20% coinsurance up to your out-of-pocket maximum, which is $8,500 annually." I did the math quickly. Minimum $8,500 this year, another $8,500 next year if treatment spilled over to 2022. That's before the things insurance never covered: parking, gas to appointments, time off work. "The oncology coordinator can discuss payment plans," Dr. Patel added, mistaking my silence for financial panic rather than calculation. But I was calculating something else too. Sick days accumulated, 287. Would that be enough? What about the merger rumors Jennifer had mentioned last week? What about Mrs. Chun? "Margaret." "Miss," I corrected automatically. "Never married. We should start treatment as soon as possible. The cancer is aggressive but treatable. Do you have family nearby? Someone who can drive you to appointments?" "I'll manage." The drive back to Sentinel took 40 minutes in traffic. I parked in my assigned spot, but couldn't make myself go inside. Through the windshield, I could see Building C, my desk window, probably the jade plant if I squinted. Everything looked exactly the same as this morning, as yesterday, as 40 years of yesterdays. My phone buzzed. "Dennis, batch 451, C showing anomalies. Need your eyes on it." I sat in the car another 10 minutes, watching people come and go. The smokers clustered by the side entrance. The afternoon shift arriving. Everything moving in patterns I knew by heart. Finally, I walked inside, badged through security, sat at my desk. Pulled up batch 451, C on my monitor. The anomalies were obvious. Contamination in the photolithography phase, probably from the new chemicals they'd started using to cut costs. I documented it, flagged it, sent the report. "Everything okay?" Dennis stood at my cubicle entrance. "You were gone a while." "Dental work," I said, not looking up from my screen. "Crown replacement." "Ouch. Those are pricey." "Yes." He lingered another moment, then left. I worked until 8 p.m., checking and rechecking things that didn't need checking. The jade plant had sprouted a new leaf, tiny and perfect. I touched it gently, still thinking in terms of defects and failure rates, of yields and acceptable losses. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my insurance documents spread out like semiconductor schematics. In-network providers, prior authorizations, coverage limitations. Stanford Cancer Center was out of network. I'd have to use the county facility. The forms asked for emergency contacts. I left it blank. An email popped up on my laptop. Subject line: Sentinel Axiom merger, your future with us. I closed the laptop without reading it. Tomorrow I'd know what came next. The infusion center opened at 7 a.m., same time I'd usually badge into Building C. June 8th, my third round of chemo. The nurse found my port on the first try. A small victory that felt enormous when your veins were already surrendering. "You're early again," she said, hanging the 4 bag. "Most patients don't show up until 8 or 9. I'm used to the schedule." The drugs dripped in with metronomic precision. 40 drops per minute. I'd counted once, turning treatment into quality control, like checking wafer production rates. The adriamycin, when in red, came out the same way. The nurse called it the Red Devil. I called it Batch 1A. My phone buzzed with merger emails. Axiom International Holdings had officially acquired Sentinel. Exciting synergies, the CEO wrote. Streamlined operations. I knew that language. It meant cuts. The woman in the chair next to mine was watching the price is right on her tablet, her daughter holding her hand. Across the room, a man in a warrior's cap slept through his drip, his wife reading a romance novel. Everyone had someone. I had my quality control notebooks and a phone full of spreadsheets. By noon, the anti-nausea drugs were failing. I made it to the bathroom just in time, holding the 4-pole like a dance partner. In the mirror, patches of scalp showed through what was left of my hair. Yesterday, I'd found clumps on my pillow, perfect circles like crop circles. Dennis texted, "Hey Maggie, can you review 456? When you're back?" New guy missed something. I didn't respond. Back when? Tomorrow? Next week? After my white blood count recovered? After my hands stopped shaking from the steroids? Week 2. I tried going back to work. Half days, Dennis had agreed, looking everywhere but at my face. I wore the wig I'd bought at CVS, synthetic black hair that fooled no one. Made it 3 hours before the nausea sent me running to the bathroom. Jennifer found me there, dry heaving into the sink. "Maggie, go home. I can finish the batch review." The batch can wait. But batches never waited. That was the point. Production continued whether you were there or not. Silicon wafers didn't care about your white blood count. The wig lasted 1 day. It was hot, itchy, and looked like what it was, a $47.99 lie from the pharmacy. I went bareheaded after that, my scalp pale as a semiconductor wafer. The bills started arriving in week 3. $8,000 for the first month after insurance. I wrote the check at the same table where I'd eaten dinner alone for 12 years. My savings account balance, $39,000. Still safe. Still manageable. Dennis visited once, bringing store-bought cookies in a tin that said, "Get well soon," in Comic Sans font. He sat in my living room, staring at a spot just above my head. "The team misses you," he said. "I'll be back." "Of course. Take all the time you need. The restructuring, your position is safe." But his eyes said different. His eyes said Axiom was counting heads, and bald heads were easy to count. "I should go," he said after 12 minutes. Batch meeting at 2. I walked him to the door, watched him practically run to his BMW. He'd never come back, I knew. Cancer was contagious in corporate America. Not the disease, but the inconvenience of it. That night, an email marked confidential hit my inbox. Early retirement packages available. Voluntary separation. Decision needed within 30 days. I did the math. $1,847 monthly pension starting in 3 months. No healthcare continuation. I sat with the jade plant, still alive, still green despite my neglect. Touched its leaves like a quality control check. No defects. No anomalies. Just quiet persistence in a pot too small for its ambitions. The chemo would continue for 3 more months. The bills would keep coming. And somewhere in Building C, someone else was probably already sitting at my desk, checking batches, catching defects, believing that showing up every day meant something. My phone showed 17 work emails. I deleted them all without reading. Tomorrow would be another treatment. Another $40 parking fee at the hospital. Another day of precise poisoning in 40 drop per minute intervals. The math was simple. The math was always simple. It was everything else that defied calculation. The hospital bed had rails like a cage. August 17th, my neutrophil count had crashed to dangerous levels. The infection came fast. Fever, chills, then admission through emergency. Now Dennis stood by the door in a surgical mask, holding retirement papers. "I'm sorry about the timing," he said, sanitizing his hands for the 3rd time. "But HR needs these by month end." The steroids made my hands shake as I read. Position eliminated. Early retirement package. $1,847 monthly pension starting November 1st. No healthcare continuation. The severance would be $12,000, taxed at 40%. It's generous, considering, Dennis said. The restructuring is hitting everyone. Considering. Like my cancer was a pre-existing condition for employment. Where do I sign? He stepped closer, pointed to the yellow tabs. Initial here. Sign there. Date this. My four dripped saline as I wrote my name. A drop landing on the signature line, making the ink blur. The jade plant, I said. On my desk. I'll have someone box it up. We both knew he wouldn't. After he left, the social worker came. Maria, according to her badge, though she looked tired enough to be anyone. She carried pamphlets about resources, assistance programs, temporary help. Do you have somewhere to go after discharge? She asked. Family? Friends? Yes, I lied. Your apartment. My landlord had sent the renewal notice. Rent was going to $3,000, market rate. The pension wouldn't even cover that. I'm working on alternatives. Maria left a stack of papers. Senior housing applications, 3-year wait list. Food bank locations. Medicaid forms for when my insurance ended. I filed them in my quality control notebook between defect reports I'd never file. That night, unable to sleep from the steroids, I did math on my phone calculator. Hospital bills, $23,000 total so far. Savings remaining, $16,000. Pension starting in 10 weeks, $1,847. Cheapest apartment in 40-mile radius, $200. The math didn't work. For 40 years, the math had always worked. The discharge planner came the next morning. Do you have someone to pick you up? Someone to stay with you for 48 hours. My sister, I lied. She's flying in from Toronto. They wheeled me to the lobby at noon. I called an Uber, $47 to my apartment. The driver helped me with my discharge bag, probably thought I was dying. I felt like it. Inside my apartment, I sat at the kitchen table still in my hospital bracelet. The rental renewal forms waited next to the retirement papers. I signed neither. Not yet. Extended Stay America costs $70 a night, which seemed reasonable until you multiplied by 30. September 15th, I'd moved in with 2 suitcases for boxes of work clothes I'd never wear again, and the jade plant Dennis had actually remembered to send. The room smelled like Lysol and old smoke. Bed, microwave, mini fridge, television showing basic cable. The window faced Highway 237, traffic never stopping. Other residents passed in the hallway, contractors, medical refugees, divorced fathers with weekend visitation. We recognized each other's temporary permanence, an MY routine adapted to hotel life. Wake at 5:30 from habit. Microwave instant oatmeal. Drive to the library for Wi-Fi and job applications. Nobody wanted a 62-year-old quality control specialist with recent cancer history, though they never said that directly. Overqualified. Not the right fit. Moving in another direction. Lunch was peanut butter sandwiches in my car. Afternoons at different libraries. Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, rotating so staff wouldn't notice I was there every day. Dinner from the Safeway deli counter, whatever was marked down after 5 p.m. The pension started November 1st. I marked it on the hotel calendar like a holiday. $1,847 direct deposited, already spent on next month's hotel bill. My savings dropped to $6,000. The hotel manager knocked one evening. Ms. Chun, guests staying over 30 days need to provide proof of employment. I'm retired. I have pension documentation. Policy requires current employment. I can give you until month end. October arrived with heat waves and wildfires. The hotel air conditioning wheezed like dying lungs. I applied for senior housing, filled out 20 pages of documentation. Estimated wait, 36 to 48 months. Might as well have been forever. The jade plant sat on the windowsill, leaves yellowing despite my care. Too much sun, not enough water. Or maybe plants knew when their environment was failing. Car registration came due, for $150. Insurance renewal, $140 monthly. Phone bill, $65. Each expense calculated against remaining funds. The credit card I'd kept for emergencies was approaching its limit. Emergencies had become daily life. Other hotels cost more. Apartments required first, last, and deposit, $9,000 upfront minimum. Rooms for rent wanted references, background checks, proof of income that exceeded rent by 3 times. October 17th, I sold my good jewelry at a pawn shop. Wedding ring from a marriage that never happened. Long story, brought $400. My mother's jade bracelet, $200. Gold earrings from my promotion to senior specialist. $150. October 18th would be my mother's birthday. She'd been dead 8 years, but I still knew the date. If she were alive, would I tell her? My mother's birthday. October 18th, 10 p.m. Walmart parking lot in Mountain View. I checked out of extended stay that morning with $6,000 left and nowhere to go. The Honda Accord's back seats folded almost flat. I'd tested it in the hotel parking lot, arranging my possessions with quality control precision. Clothes in the trunk, organized by type and season. Toiletries in the glove box. Important papers under the passenger seat. The jade plant wouldn't survive in a car. I left it at the hotel, hoping housekeeping would take it home. I texted my sister in Toronto. Treatment finished. Doing well. Busy with retirement planning. All lies dressed as truth. The Walmart lot had rules I learned quickly. Park near others, but not too close. Don't run the engine too long. Keep windows cracked for air, but not enough for hands to reach in. I ate a peanut butter sandwich, watching families load groceries, normal people living normal lives. At 10:30, I attempted sleep. Driver's seat reclined, coat as blanket, purse as pillow. Every sound was a threat. Car door, shopping cart, footsteps. At midnight, I gave up and sat watching the lot lights, those harsh LEDs that turned everything orange. The need to pee came at 2 a.m. Walmart was closed. Gas station was 3 blocks. Too dangerous to walk. Too obvious to drive. I used an empty water bottle, shame burning hotter than chemo fever. This was what I'd become. Quality control specialist to woman pissing in a bottle in a Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m. The flashlight tap on my window. Security guard, young enough to be the son I never had. Can't sleep here, ma'am. City ordinance. I'm just resting. Long drive. I know what you're doing. I'm sorry, but you need to move. He was kind about it, which somehow made it worse that I drove to another Walmart. Same result. Then a rest stop. Then remembered, my Sentinel badge might still work. HR was notoriously slow with terminations. The parking lot I knew like home, where I'd spent 40 years arriving at dawn. The badge reader turned green. Small miracle. I parked in the far corner where the overnight shift wouldn't notice. Found a position that didn't hurt my back, where the merger hadn't happened, where cells weren't dividing in wrong ways. Dawn came at 6:47. Pink sky over Building C. Early shift arriving. Then Dennis's BMW pulling into the management row. Same spot, same time, same everything except me. Sentinel's parking lot had rhythms I knew by heart. November mornings meant employees arriving in waves. Early shift at 6 a.m., regular crew by 8. Management around 9. I stayed in the back corner where the old oak trees provided cover. Moving the car every few hours so security wouldn't notice. 3 weeks in, I developed systems. Gym membership at 24-hour fitness for showers, $35 monthly, worth every penny. Rotate between 3 parking lots, Sentinel at night, library during day, shopping centers for evening meals. Laundromat Wednesday nights, hand-washing underwear in their sink when I couldn't afford machines. The car was breaking down. Transmission slipping, especially between second and third gear. The mechanic at Jiffy Lube quoted $3,200. Might as well have been $1 million. I added fluid weekly, $15 a bottle, hoping for time. Other people lived in Sentinel's lot. The white van with curtains. The RV with Arizona plates. The sedan with stuffed animals in the back window. We never talked, but we knew. Unspoken rules. Don't stare, don't ask questions, don't draw attention. Corporate refugees hiding in plain sight. My unemployment claim was denied. Never officially fired, chose early retirement. The woman at ED explained it 3 times while I sat in their plastic chair, still not understanding how choosing between retirement and termination wasn't really a choice. Food became mathematical. Calories per dollar. Protein that didn't need refrigeration. Fruits that lasted. The food bank on Tuesdays and Thursdays, arriving 45 minutes early for better selection. The volunteers knew me now, smiled sadly, packed extra peanut butter when they could. Dennis saw me one morning. Our eyes met across the parking lot. Him walking from his BMW. Me sitting in my Accord eating instant oatmeal mixed with cold water. He turned sharply, suddenly interested in his phone. The next day, security knocked on my window. "Ma'am, we've had complaints. You can't live here." I'm not living anywhere. Just resting between appointments. Every night. I used to work here. 40 years. He softened slightly. I'm sorry, but you need to find somewhere else. That afternoon, I watched them install new signs. No overnight parking. Violators will be towed. Probably cost more than a month of my pension. The transmission gave out completely December 1st in the Safeway parking lot. No dramatic breakdown, just stopped moving forward. Like everything else, a quiet surrender. Towed to repair shop. Estimate confirmed. $3,200. I had $2, 100 they'd hold it for 30 days. The shop manager said 30 days to figure out how to live without the only shelter I had left. Without the car, everything got harder. December 15th, walking 4 miles to the food bank. Pulling a wheeled suitcase I'd bought at Goodwill for $8. The rain had started early that year. Those California downpours that flooded everything because nothing was built for water. The homeless shelter on Commercial Street had rules. Check in by 5 p.m. or lose your spot. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Lights out at 9. Wake up at 5 a.m., everyone out by 6. The smell hit you first. Unwashed bodies, industrial disinfectant, despair. I lasted 3 nights. This isn't for you, said the woman in the next cot, not unkindly. You're not built for this. She was right. 40 years of quality control hadn't prepared me for chaos. For screaming at 2 a.m. For someone stealing my shoes while I slept. For the morning they found someone dead in the bathroom, overdosed on something that wasn't supposed to be there. I spent days at the library, nights riding buses. The 22 ran until midnight. The 522 started at 4:30 a.m. Between them, a few hours on benches, in 24-hour laundromats, wherever looked safe. Safe being relative when you're a 62-year-old woman with cancer in remission carrying everything you own. The mechanic called December 28th. We need the car gone by January 1st. Or it goes to auction. I understand. I didn't fight it. Couldn't afford to fix it, couldn't afford to keep it, couldn't afford anything anymore. Signed it over to the shop for parts value. $500 they'd credit toward the bill I'd never pay. That night, I found the bench in Ringstorff Park. The same bench where I used to eat lunch on nice days. Back when I had lunch, when I had days that were nice. Protected by hedges, invisible from the parking lot, close enough to public restrooms. If you arranged yourself right, backpack as pillow, coat tucked tight, you could almost sleep. A jogger found me that first morning, called 911 thinking I was dead. The EMTs were irritated when I refused transport. You can't sleep here, one said. I wasn't sleeping, just resting. There's services, programs, help available. I'm on every list. They left pamphlets I already had, numbers I'd already called, wait lists I'd already joined. 3 years for senior housing, 8 months for transitional programs, 6 weeks for a caseworker appointment. New Year's Eve, I watched fireworks from my bench, thinking about the jade plant. Wonder who had it now. January became routine. Wake at 5:30 on the bench, body trained by 40 years of alarm clocks. Pack belongings in the wheeled suitcase, sleeping bag, 2 changes of clothes, hygiene kit, notebook with important papers wrapped in plastic. Walk to McDonald's for senior coffee, 85 cents. Use their bathroom to wash face, brush teeth. Look presentable. Library opened at 9. Mondays were for computers, check bank balance, pension deposited. $1,847. Apply for housing, still waiting. Read emails from my sister, replied with careful lies. Tuesdays and Thursdays meant food bank, arriving early for produce that wasn't soft, bread that wasn't moldy. Wednesdays were laundromat days if I had quarters, sink washing if I didn't. The other bench regulars knew me now. Thomas, Vietnam vet with a shopping cart full of cans. Maria, who talked to invisible children. Samuel, who'd been on the streets 10 years and showed me which businesses didn't lock their dumpsters. Where to find day-old sandwiches still wrapped. You're not like us, Samuel said one morning, sharing his coffee. I'm here, aren't I? Being here and belonging here are different things. But I was learning the language of homelessness. Which security guards were sympathetic? Which bathrooms had soap? Which churches served meals without sermons? Which corners to avoid after dark? The landscape of poverty overlaid on Silicon Valley wealth, like a parallel universe. February's storms were brutal. The bench offered no shelter. I spent nights in the 24-hour Safeway, pretending to shop for hours, reading the same magazines. Sometimes buying something small, a banana, a pack of gum, to justify my presence. The security guard knew but didn't say anything until his manager complained. You gotta actually shop or leave, he said. Apologetically, the storage unit where I'd put my furniture when I left the apartment cost $180 monthly. I'd paid through December, then let it go. Somewhere, my couch and desk and dishes were being auctioned. Another life liquidated. My prescription ran out in March. The cancer medication I was supposed to take for 5 years, preventative, $340 monthly without insurance. The oncology nurse at the free clinic was stern. This is important. The recurrence risk without it is 15% higher. I know. I kept quality control data for 40 years. Then you know you need to take it. I need a lot of things. She found samples, 2 months worth. Small miracles came that way now. Sample medications, extra sandwiches at the food bank, a dry night when rain was forecast. March again. 1 year since the jade plant, 2 years since diagnosis. Dennis found me at the bus stop on Lawrence Expressway, waiting for the 35 that would take me to the library. He was in his BMW, window rolling down slowly like he might change his mind. Maggie, I thought about pretending not to hear, but we'd made eye contact. Hello, Dennis. I heard. Someone said they saw. Are you okay? I'm fine. He looked at my wheeled suitcase, my layers of clothes, my hair grown back gray and wild. Can I? Do you need? He pulled out his wallet, extracted 2 20s, then added a third. Please. I took the money because I needed it, because he needed to give it, because $60 meant laundry and coffee and maybe new socks. Thank you. The company's doing well. Axiom stock is up 30%. That's nice. Your position, someone told me you're the one who caught the 2008 defect. Saved the company millions. That was a long time ago. He drove away quickly, like poverty might be contagious through BMW glass. The $60 lasted 8 days. New socks at Dollar Tree, $3. Laundry with actual dryer time, $4.50. The rest for food that wasn't from a food bank, vegetables that crunched, fruit that wasn't bruised. Small luxuries that felt enormous. The library had a new security guard who didn't like my suitcase, said it blocked aisles. I started hiding it behind the dumpster, praying no one would take it. Everything I owned fit in that case. Birth certificate, social security card, 2 photos of my mother. The quality control notebook I still carried, though I'd stopped writing in it. April's food bank volunteer recognized me from 40 years of shopping at her grocery store. Mrs. Patel from Produce Plus. Aged but still sharp. Margaret? Margaret Chun. No point denying it. Hello, Mrs. Patel. But you worked at that tech company. Good job. I remember you buying fruit every Sunday. Things change. She packed my bag extra full that day, added treats that weren't supposed to be in the regular distribution. Cookies. Fresh grapes. A chocolate bar. I ate the chocolate immediately, sitting on my bench, letting it melt slowly. First chocolate in 6 months. The camp sweep came April 30th. Police and social workers in garbage trucks. They cleared the encampment under Highway 101, where I'd never stayed but knew people who did. Thomas lost everything in his cart. Maria's invisible children couldn't save her belongings. You're lucky, the social worker told me. A bench isn't considered camping. Lucky. I'd once thought lucky meant catching cancer at stage 2B instead of 4. May 15th. The cancer center called about missed appointments. I'd ignored the follow-up scans, the blood work, the oncology visits that cost $285 even at the sliding scale clinic. The receptionist kept saying, "Your health is important," like it was a choice between priorities instead of possibilities. My sister called that afternoon. I was charging my phone at Starbucks, nursing a water cup, when her name appeared. 3 months since we'd talked. Maggie, I'm worried. Your texts are so short. I'm fine. Busy with retirement. Retirement doesn't mean disappearing. What's your new address? I want to send a birthday card. My birthday, June 3rd. I'd forgotten. I'm between places. Downsizing. For 3 months. It's complicated. Come to Toronto. Stay with us while you figure things out. The offer hung there, real and impossible. Passport expired. No money for flights. No way to explain showing up with 1 suitcase and gray hair. Looking like what I was. I'll think about it. Mom would want. I know what Mom would want. After we hung up, I sat in Starbucks until they asked me to leave. Policy about non-customers. I'd become the person businesses had policies about. That night on my bench, I did the math on Toronto. Even if my sister bought the ticket, then what? Burden her family? Sit in their guest room getting older and sicker? At least here I knew the food bank schedule, the library hours, the public bathroom locations. Poverty was work, and I'd learned the job. May 30th, cleaning myself in the park bathroom, I noticed the lump. Same breast, different spot. My hands knew what they felt. 40 years of quality control taught you to recognize anomalies. I stood there, fluorescent light buzzing, paper towels rough against wet skin, feeling the thing that would kill me if the streets didn't first. The free clinic couldn't see me for 6 weeks. The emergency room would just refer me out. The cancer center required insurance or $2,000 upfront. I added it to the list of things I couldn't fix. Teeth that hurt, knee that swelled, cough that wouldn't leave. June 3rd, 63rd birthday. The food bank volunteers sang when they saw my ID, gave me a cupcake someone had donated. I ate it on my bench, watching families play in the park, normal people living normal lives. That night it rained, and I thought about the jade plant, whether anyone remembered to water it, whether things that were cared for knew the difference. June 20th, the hottest day yet. The park bathroom was closed for maintenance, had been for a week. I'd been using McDonald's, rotating between 3 locations so they wouldn't ban me. Today the manager at the one on El Camino recognized me. You need to buy something or leave. Senior coffee, 85 cents. That was 2 hours ago. I left with as much dignity as I could manage. Which wasn't much when you haven't properly bathed in a week. The library was my next stop. But the new security guard stopped me at the door. You can't bring that in, pointing at my suitcase. I've been bringing it for months. New policy. Bags have to fit under the chairs. Everything I own is in there. Not my problem. I spent the day behind the library, in the shade where employees smoked. One of them, a young librarian I recognized, brought me water. Didn't say anything. Just set it down and went back inside. Kindness that didn't need words. My period came that afternoon. At 63, I thought I was done, but stress does things. The cramping bent me double on a bus stop bench. No supplies. No bathroom. 20 minutes to the gas station, waddling, praying the stain didn't show. Paper towels and hand soap in their bathroom. Fashioning a pad that would last maybe an hour. The Dollar Tree had supplies, but I needed that money for food. Choose between eating and bleeding. I chose eating, stuffed more paper towels in my underwear, walked like nothing was wrong. That's when I saw it. Now hiring sign at the food bank. Part-time, minimum wage, but still. I walked in, found the coordinator. I want to apply. She looked at my suitcase, my unwashed hair, the way I was standing to hide the blood. Do you have an address? Phone number? References? I have 40 years of experience. Quality control at Sentinel Technologies. We need someone who can commit to a schedule. Show up reliably. I've been here every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 months. As a client. That's different. But she gave me an application. I filled it out at the park picnic table, handwriting still precise despite everything. Address, general delivery. Phone, the number I could barely keep active. References, Dennis, though I knew he wouldn't answer. I never heard back. Later learned they hired the coordinator's niece. July 4th, fireworks over Rengstorff Park. Families spreading blankets, kids with glow sticks, teenagers sneaking beers. I sat on my bench watching them arrange themselves into happiness. These people who went home when things ended. A family set up near me. Parents, 2 kids, grandmother with a walker. The youngest, maybe 6, kept staring. Finally walked over. Why do you live on a bench? Lucy, get back here. Her mother called, then saw me. Really saw me. The look shifted from annoyance to fear to pity. She grabbed Lucy's hand, pulled her away, whispered something about not talking to strangers. That I wanted to say I used to be like you. Used to worry about property taxes and performance reviews. Used to have a refrigerator with expired condiments and a closet full of clothes I never wore. Instead, I watched them move their blanket farther away. After the fireworks, the park cleared fast. Families hurrying to cars, trash overflowing from cans, sparklers still glowing in the grass. I collected returnable cans and bottles. $3.50 worth. Good night. Thomas would be proud. July 15th, the heat wave continued. The cooling center opened, but it was 2 miles away, and walking in 105-degree heat seemed more dangerous than staying put. I spent the day under the oak tree, the same one they were planning to transplant when Sentinel got demolished. A news crew showed up that afternoon, doing a story on the demolition. Historic Tech Campus makes way for progress. They interviewed someone from Axiom about innovation and growth. I sat 30 feet away, invisible. The reporter walked past me twice, stepped around my suitcase. Never saw the woman who'd saved the company millions in 2008. Dennis appeared in the background of one shot, pointing at Building C, explaining something about square footage. He looked successful, healthy, like the kind of person who'd never eaten from a dumpster or washed underwear in a park sink. The demolition would start August 1st. They'd clear the parking lot first, then the buildings. My bench would remain. It was city property, not Sentinel's. But the view would change. No more Building C. No more counting cars to track shift changes. No more pretending I still belonged to something. That night, I found half a birthday cake in the Safeway dumpster. Happy 10th, Isabella, in pink frosting. Still cold, barely expired. I ate 3 pieces, sitting on my bench, watching the Sentinel lights for one of the last times. Happy birthday, Isabella. Hope you got your wish. August 1st, 6 a.m. The demolition began with beeps, backup signals from trucks and excavators. I watched from my bench as they cordoned off Sentinel's parking lot, my refuge for those weeks in the car. The space where I'd earned Employee of the Month parking, now behind chain link and no trespassing signs. By noon, Building C was surrounded by scaffolding. Workers in hard hats moved with purpose, dismantling 40 years piece by piece. I wondered if someone found the jade plant, if they'd wondered who left it. Dennis saw me watching. This time he didn't turn away. He walked over, sat on the bench beside me, careful not to touch my suitcase. They're saving the cornerstone. Established 1981. Going to display it in the new building. That's nice. You started that year, didn't you? September 15th. I was 22. We sat quietly, watching a crane position itself near the roof. Maggie, I need to tell you something. When you were sick, when Axiom pushed the early retirement, I could have fought for you. Told them about 2008, about your value. I didn't. I know. I was scared. My mortgage, my kids' college. I thought if I pushed too hard, you'd end up like me. He pulled out his wallet, extracted everything in it. $300, maybe $400. Please take this. That's too much. It's not enough. It'll never be enough. I took the money because he needed absolution more than he needed cash. He walked back to his BMW, drove away. Never saw him again. The money went fast. New shoes that didn't leak, $40 at Walmart. A month of phone service, $65. Antibiotics from the urgent care for the infected cut on my foot, $180. The rest for food that had protein, vegetables that had vitamins. Fruit that reminded me of before. August 20th, the building came down. I heard rather than saw it. I was at the food bank, volunteering despite not being hired. They let me sort donations, break down boxes, clean the floors. Unpaid, but I needed the routine, the purpose, the access to a real bathroom. When I returned to my bench that evening, Building C was rubble. Dust still hanging in the air like ghosts. The oak tree remained, marked with orange tape for transplanting. We were both being relocated. Neither of us consulted about where. That night, I dreamed about silicon wafers, about clean rooms and particle counts, about defects invisible to the naked eye, but catastrophic if missed. September arrived with early rain. The tarp I'd found behind Home Depot helped, but water finds its way. Wet clothes, wet sleeping bag, wet notebooks despite plastic bags. The pages where I'd kept 40 years of quality control data warped and blurred, ink running like tears. The cough started September 10th. Deep, rattling, productive. The free clinic gave me cough syrup, said to come back if it got worse. Worse being relative when you sleep outside and can't stay dry. September 15th marked my 44th work anniversary, if I'd still been working. I celebrated by walking past the demolition site. Building C was completely gone, just dirt where it stood. They'd installed a sign. Future site of Axiom Innovation Center, 400 luxury apartments. Starting at $3,500 per month. A security guard I didn't recognize told me to move along. I worked here. 40 years. Not anymore. Keep walking. September 20th, my sister called again. The conversation was short. Maggie, I know something's wrong. Your voice sounds different. Just a cold. In California? In September? I need to go. Wait, I'm sending money. What's your address? Don't send anything. Margaret Chun, stop being stubborn. Where are you? I'm nowhere. I hung up, turned off the phone. She'd call back, but I couldn't afford the minutes or the lies. The food bank coordinator pulled me aside that Tuesday. Margaret, we appreciate your help, but you're sick. You're scaring the other volunteers. I'll wear a mask. You need rest. Real rest. Have you considered the shelter? I've considered everything. But she was right. The cough was getting worse. Fever came at night. The bench spun when I stood too fast. My body was failing the only quality control test that mattered. October 1st, they transplanted the oak tree. I watched them dig around its roots, wrap them in burlap, lift it onto a truck. Careful, gentle, more consideration than they'd shown their employees. The tree would go to the new campus across town, be replanted with ceremony and commemorative plaques, but MY bench looked naked without it. No shade, no protection, just a metal seat in a bare patch of park, exposed to everything. Like me. That night, fever spiking, I considered the emergency room, considered the shelter, considered calling my sister back. Instead, I wrapped myself tighter in the damp sleeping bag and waited for dawn. Always waiting for dawn. October 15th, Thomas found me unconscious on the bench at 5 a.m., called 911 with a phone I didn't know he had. Pneumonia, the ER doctor said. Severe. Should have come in sooner. 3 days in the hospital. For antibiotics. Oxygen. Food that appeared without effort. A bed that stayed dry. Social workers who asked about discharge planning, housing resources, family contacts. There must be someone. The discharge planner insisted. There's no one. What about the sister in Toronto? She's called 6 times. They'd found her number in my phone. She'd offered to fly down, pay for everything, take me back. Tell her I'm fine. You're not fine. You're homeless with pneumonia and likely recurrent cancer. I'm aware of my situation. They discharged me October 18th, same date as last year, when I first slept in the car. 2 years since diagnosis. The hospital gave me a bus pass, a list of shelters, and antibiotics I couldn't afford to fill. Back to the bench. It had been cleared while I was gone. Sleeping bag, tarp, everything except the suitcase I'd taken to the hospital. Had to start over. Salvation Army for a blanket, $5. Grocery store for cardboard to sleep on. The pharmacy wanted $47 for antibiotics. I had $12. October 25th. The lump was bigger. I could feel it through my shirt now, this thing growing while the rest of me shrank. The mirror in the park bathroom showed someone I didn't recognize. Gray, gaunt, hollow. Quality control would reject this version immediately. Defective. Below specifications. Halloween came with kids trick-or-treating through the park. I sat on my bench watching them. These small humans dressed as possibilities. One mother pulled her princess daughter away when she got too close. Don't bother the lady. The lady. Not the woman. Not the person. The lady. Like I was a category instead of a Margaret. November 1st. Pension deposited. $1,847. Most went to the P.O. box, phone bill, laundromat, replacing stolen blanket. The rest for food and the endless small costs of having nothing. Batteries for flashlight. Tampons for the bleeding that wouldn't stop. Band-aids for feet that wouldn't heal. November 3rd, I wrote my sister a letter. Real mail to Toronto, taking 3 days to compose it at the library. Don't look for me. I chose this. I love you. Posted it without a return address. The holidays were coming. The food bank would close for Thanksgiving. The library too. Even poverty took holidays, except for those living it. November 25th, Thanksgiving. The church on Stevens Creek served turkey dinners to anyone who showed up. I sat at a long table with others like me. Thomas, Maria, new faces I didn't recognize. Volunteers wore aprons saying, "Blessed to serve," and smiled determinedly while spooning mashed potatoes. Dark meat or white? A teenager asked, her UCLA sweatshirt too clean for kitchen work. Whatever's left. She gave me both, plus extra stuffing, that look of satisfied charity. I ate everything, even the cranberry sauce I'd never liked. Calories were calories. The woman across from me wrapped rolls and napkins for later. I did the same. After dinner, they offered services. Haircuts, flu shots, clothing. I got my hair trimmed by a student beautician who kept saying how pretty my eyes were. Like that mattered when the rest of me was failing. The flu shot seemed pointless, but was free. The clothing was picked over, but I found a rain jacket that almost fit. Back at my bench, I counted what I had to be thankful for. Still alive, rain jacket, for dinner rolls, enough pension for phone service. The list was shorter than last year. Next year it might not exist. December 1st, the camp sweep they'd threatened finally happened. Not my bench, that wasn't considered camping, but the encampment where Thomas and others stayed. Police, social workers, garbage trucks. Everything not carried got trashed. Thomas lost his shopping cart, 20 years of collecting gone in minutes. Starting over, he said, sitting next to me that evening. Gets harder each time. Yes. You ever think about the end? How it happens? Sometimes. I want to go in my sleep. Peaceful. You. Quickly. We sat watching the cleared lot where the camp had been. By tomorrow, new tents would appear. The cycle continuing. But Thomas and I both knew we were getting too old, too sick, too tired for the endless starting over. December 15th, my phone died. Not the service, the actual phone. Screen cracked from dropping, battery bloated, finally gave up. No money to replace it. My last connection to the world that required addresses and phone numbers. Gone. My sister probably thought I was dead. Maybe that was better. Cleaner. Let her mourn someone who used to exist instead of witnessing what I'd become. December 20th, they announced Axiom's Innovation Center was ahead of schedule. Spring groundbreaking. The Mercury News ran a feature with architect renderings. Glass and steel where Building C stood. Luxury where workers used to earn middle-class wages. December 31st, New Year's Eve. I sat on my bench watching distant fireworks, thinking about time. 3 years since diagnosis. 2 since the car. 1 since the bench became home. Quality control measured defects in parts per million. I'd become the defect, the outlier, the one that didn't meet specifications. January 15th, 2024. The jade plant would be dead by now, unless someone adopted it. Things needed consistent care to survive. Even succulents, designed for drought, eventually gave up without water. The lump had spread. I could feel the nodes in my neck, under my arms. The cancer center had called the P.O. box number, left messages I couldn't retrieve without a phone. Didn't matter. Treatment required insurance, addresses, someone to drive you home. I volunteered at the food bank Fridays, though they still wouldn't hire me. Sorted donations with the same precision I'd once applied to semiconductors. The coordinator let me take expired yogurt, dented cans, produce, just starting to turn. Kindness dressed as policy. February came with more rain. The park flooded. My bench became an island. I spent nights in the 24-hour laundromat, pretending to wait for clothes that didn't exist. The owner knew, but let me stay if I cleaned. Swept floors, wiped machines, emptied trash. Work for shelter, the oldest economy. March 1st. Dennis appeared one last time, not at the demolition site, but at my bench. Different suit, new car, same guilty face. Maggie. Hello. He sat down, pulled out an envelope. I've been looking for you. It's from the team. The old team. We heard. Inside was cash, maybe $2,000, and a note with signatures. Jennifer. Raj. Even Linda who microwaved fish. We remember 2008, it said. Thank you. There's also this. Another envelope. Axiom is settling a class action suit. Age discrimination during the merger. You qualify. It's not much, but how much? 18,000. Maybe 20 after lawyers. Enough for a room. Medicine. Time. The paperwork needs an address. General delivery. Main post office. He stood to leave, then stopped. The jade plant. I kept it. It's still alive. Would you want? No. It belongs somewhere with windows. Today they're demolishing the last of the old campus. I'm on my bench, watching trucks arrive. Soon they'll clear this dirt, pour foundations, build their future. The oak tree they transplanted is probably dead. Moves like that shock the roots, kills slowly from inside. Tonight I'll be here, on this bench where I used to eat lunch. Tomorrow too, if I wake up. The settlement might come through. The cancer might wait. The rain might stop. Or not. Either way, I'll be here, watching the sun set behind mountains that don't care about stock prices or quality control or 40 years of perfect attendance. The jade plant is still alive somewhere. Roots reaching for earth, leaves reaching for light. Growing despite everything, still growing even as the walls come down. March 15th, 2024. 3 years exactly since the jade plant ceremony. I'm holding the settlement check from Axiom, $19, 8.47 after lawyers, in the post office where I've collected mail for 2 years. The paper feels thin, like it might dissolve if I grip too tight. The postal clerk, Mrs. Rodriguez, knows me by now. Good news today? Maybe. She's seen me come in monthly for pension checks, occasionally for other mail. Never asked why I used general delivery, why I look like someone living rough. Just handed over envelopes with the same professional courtesy she'd give anyone. Outside, I sit on the post office steps studying the check. Not enough to change everything, but enough to change something. Enough for first, last, and deposit on a studio apartment. Or treatment for whatever's growing inside me. Or a plane ticket to Toronto. Not enough for all three. Thomas shuffles by, pushing a new shopping cart liberated from somewhere. He stops, recognizes me despite my new rain jacket. Settlement came through. Yes. What you gonna do? I fold the check, put it in my inside pocket next to my mother's prayer card. I don't know yet, but I do know. I've been doing the math for weeks, ever since Dennis mentioned the lawsuit. The apartment costs are brutal. First month, last month, security deposit, utility deposits, credit check fees. Even a studio in the worst neighborhood runs $2,200 monthly. The settlement might cover 6 months if I ate nothing, used no electricity, never got sick. The cancer is moving faster now. I can feel it in my bones, see it in the way my clothes hang loose despite eating at the food bank. Treatment would cost more than the settlement. Even at the county hospital, even with sliding scale, even with Medicaid if I qualified. My sister's invitation stands. She'd sent another letter 2 weeks ago, forwarded through the P.O. box. Come home, she wrote. Let us help. Home being Toronto, where she has a guest room and healthcare and family dinners I couldn't sit through without explaining why I'd disappeared. The rain starts as I walk back to my bench. Heavier than forecast, the kind that soaks through rain jackets and good intentions. I duck under the park pavilion where teenagers normally smoke after school. They aren't here yet, still too early, still in classrooms learning about futures they think they can count on. I pull out my notebook and do the math again. Rent, $2,200. Utilities, $150. Food, $300. Phone, $65. Medical, unknown but significant. Total monthly needs, $2,715. Pension income, $1,847. Monthly shortfall, $868. Even if I got hired somewhere, minimum wage won't cover the gap. At 62 with cancer history and no fixed address, employers aren't exactly competing for my services. The food bank coordinator finally offered me 8 hours a week at $16 hourly, but that's $512 monthly before taxes. Still short by $200. The teenagers arrive, put up against rain. They glance at me, but don't ask me to move. One offers to share her vape. I decline politely. Cancer doesn't need help. You're that lady from the bench, she says. My mom says you used to work at the tech place. Sentinel. Yes. Cool. What did you do there? Quality control. Checked things for defects. Like debugging code. Similar. Making sure products worked right. She nods, impressed or pretending to be. Her friends are ready to leave, but she lingers. My mom says you're really smart. That company screwed you over. Companies do what companies do. That's messed up. Yes, it is. They leave. And I'm alone with the rain and the check that might save me or might just postpone the inevitable. The cancer center had left another message at my P.O. box, forwarded by the mail service. Dr. Patel wanted to discuss treatment options. Translation, they'd take my money until it ran out, then discharge me to whatever came next at 4 p.m. I walk to the pay phone outside the library. Still works, still takes quarters. I dial my sister's number from memory. Linda Chen speaking. Linda, it's Maggie. Silence. Then, oh my God. Maggie, where are you? I've been worried sick. I'm okay. You're not okay. You sound terrible. Are you sick? I have some money now. Settlement from the company. I wanted to ask, the offer to visit. Yes. Yes, of course. When? I'll buy the ticket right now. I listened to her breathing, eager and relieved and terrified. She'd probably buy first class, put me in the guest room with the attached bathroom and view of her garden, cook meals with vegetables from the farmer's market, have her husband drive me to doctor appointments at their family clinic where everyone knew everyone and insurance worked the way it was supposed to. Maggie, Are you there? I'm here. What do you need? Documents? ID? I can handle everything. I could say yes. Could let her save me the way older sisters are supposed to save younger ones. Could admit that 40 years of self-reliance had led to sleeping on park benches and rationing antibiotics. Could let someone else make decisions for once. My passport expired. We'll get you a new one. Emergency processing. How much is the settlement? Is it enough for, it's complicated? It doesn't have to be complicated. Just say yes. The rain is stopping. Through the library window, I can see people at computers, applying for jobs, checking email, living connected lives. A mother helps her son with homework. An old man reads newspapers from countries I've never seen. I'll call you tomorrow, I say. Maggie, don't hang up. Please don't disappear again. I won't disappear. But I do hang up. Walk back through the park to my bench, where everything I own fits in one suitcase and the rest of my life stretches ahead like a problem I can't solve. The check is still in my pocket. Real money, real choices, real chances to get things wrong in new ways that I sit on my bench and watch the sunset through clouds that look like semiconductor wafers under magnification, layered, complex, beautiful when you know how to see them. The jade plant Dennis kept is probably bigger now, probably flowering. Things grow when they're cared for properly. The question is whether I remember how to be cared for. Whether 2 years on a bench has broken something essential, or whether it's just revealed what was broken all along. Tomorrow I'll decide. Tonight I'll sit here where I know the rhythms, where I understand the rules, where being homeless at least means being home. March 20th. The apartment is 23 steps from the front door to the bathroom. I've counted them 15 times since moving in yesterday. Studio efficiency on the second floor of a building that should have been condemned in 1987. Carpet worn to threads, kitchenette with 2 working burners. Window that overlooks the dumpster where I used to forage for cans. Rent, $1,950. First, last. And deposit, $5,850. Utility deposits, $347. Moving truck to transport 1 suitcase, $0. I walked. The landlord, Mr. Nguyen, looked at my bank statement showing the settlement deposit. My pension verification, my credit report that somehow still existed despite everything. No pets, he said. No smoking. No loud music after 10 p.m. I don't have pets. No subletting. Rent due first of month, 3-day grace period. I signed papers that made me a renter again, responsible for garbage pickup and snow removal that doesn't happen in California. A person with an address. Now I'm sitting on the floor, no furniture yet, eating a sandwich made with bread from my own refrigerator. The fridge hums constantly, probably dying, but it's mine for 11 months if the money holds out. 11 months to figure out what comes next. The silence is overwhelming. No traffic. No other homeless people talking to themselves. No security guards making rounds. Just the upstairs neighbor's television and occasional footsteps. Normal sounds of normal people living normal lives that I've forgotten how to live inside. The bathroom has a mirror I've been avoiding. When I finally look, I see a stranger. Gray hair, hollow cheeks, scars from infections that healed badly. The cancer treatment 3 years ago changed my body. Homelessness finished the job. I look like what I am. Someone who's survived things that weren't supposed to be survived. The shower has hot water, pressure that stings, soap that foams. I stand under it for 20 minutes, watching dirt spiral down the drain. My feet are pale, scarred from 2 years of wrong shoes and no shoes and shoes that fell apart while walking. The lump in my breast feels bigger in the steam, more real. Doctor Patel's office calls while I'm drying off. Real phone in my apartment, landline included in rent. The receptionist sounds surprised when I answer. Miss Chun, we've been trying to reach you. Dr. Patel would like to schedule a follow-up. I'm ready now. For follow-up? It's been, let me check, 18 months since your last appointment. I'm aware of the timeline. She has an opening Thursday at 2 p.m. I write it on my palm. No calendar yet. No routine that includes appointments. I'll be there. After hanging up, I sit on the floor with my settlement paperwork. Total received, $19,847. Already spent, $6,197 on deposits and first month's rent. Remaining, $13,650. At current burn rate, that's 7 months if I eat sparingly and stay healthy. Less if I don't. The job applications I printed at the library are spread across the carpet. 62 applications for everything from grocery clerk to receptionist to janitor. Each one asking for addresses, phone numbers, employment gaps that need explaining. How do you write homeless for 2 years in professional language? Target called back. Overnight stocking, $17 hourly, 28 hours weekly. I'd make $1,904 monthly before taxes, maybe $1,520 after. Combined with pension, $3,367. Enough to cover rent and utilities with $700 left for everything else. Tight, but possible. The interview is tomorrow. They want someone who can lift 50 pounds, stand for 8 hours, work weekends. I can do that. The cancer might complain, but I've been carrying everything I owned for 2 years. Boxes of merchandise seem manageable by comparison. My sister calls at 8 p.m., number she got from directory assistance. You have a phone now. And an address. Maggie, I'm so relieved. Are you okay? Really okay? I look around the empty studio. I'm housed. That's something. That's a start. Can I visit? I want to see you. Not yet. Why not yet? Because I don't know how to be a sister anymore. Because seeing her would mean admitting what I've become. Because she'd want to help in ways that require accepting charity from family instead of strangers. I need time to adjust. To having an apartment. To having everything. She's quiet. Probably wondering what everything means when it's one room and no furniture. Can I send you things? A bed? Kitchen supplies? I'll let you know. After we hang up, I lie on the carpet and stare at the ceiling. There's a stain shaped like Australia, same continent as the bruise from my first biopsy. Everything connects to everything else in patterns too complex to track. The target interview goes well. The manager, Janet, is matter-of-fact about my employment gap. Caregiver for sick relative. I tell her. Close enough to true if the relative is yourself. Can you work overnight shifts? 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yes. Weekends? Yes. Start Monday. I shake her hand with fingers that still remember professionalism. Thank you. Walking home. I can say home now. I stop at Goodwill. Sleeping bag, $8. Pillow, $3. Folding chair, $12. Dishes and utensils, $15. Everything needed to pretend normalcy for less than $40. That evening, I sit in my folding chair eating dinner from my own plate. Pasta with sauce from a jar, green beans from a can. Simple food that tastes like victory because I chose it, bought it, cooked it in my own kitchen. The cancer center appointment looms. Dr. Patel will want tests, scans, biopsies, treatment plans that cost more than my settlement. She'll use words like aggressive intervention and survival rates and quality of life. She won't ask what quality means when you've lost everything except the breath in your lungs. Outside my window, the dumpster fills with other people's discards. I recognize the rhythm. Afternoon shift from the auto shop, evening disposal from the restaurant, late-night contributions from residents who generate more garbage than I could imagine. The abundance of waste that comes with having more than you need. My neighbor upstairs plays music until midnight. Jazz mostly. Sometimes classical. Never anything recent, like she's stuck in a different era when things made sense. I lie on my sleeping bag listening to melodies that might have been playing in 1981 when I started at Sentinel, when the jade plant was just a dream in some greenhouse. Tomorrow, I start working again. 8-hour shifts moving boxes, filling shelves, organizing products for customers who assume stores stock themselves. Honest work that pays honest wages. Not enough wages, but honest ones that I fall asleep to saxophone music and traffic sounds. Normal sounds that mean I'm inside again, sheltered again. Someone with an address and a job and 11 months to figure out what comes next. The apartment is dark except for streetlight through the window. In that light, my shadow on the wall looks almost normal. Almost like someone who belongs here. Almost April 8th. 3 weeks at Target, and my body remembers work rhythms. Clock in at 10 p.m., stock shelves until 6 a.m., walk home as the sun rises. My feet hurt in familiar ways. My back aches from lifting. My hands develop calluses in new places. But it's honest pain, earned pain, the kind that comes with paychecks. Janet assigned me to electronics, phones, tablets, gaming systems, things that require organization and attention to detail. You have retail experience? She asked on my first day. Quality control. Different, but related. Now I know every item's SKU number, every shelf's planogram, every customer complaint about products that don't work as advertised. It's familiar work dressed in different clothes, checking specifications, maintaining standards, catching problems before they multiply. My first paycheck for $187.20 after taxes. Not much, but it's the first money I've earned since Sentinel. I cash it at the check cashing place, pay them $8 for the privilege, walk home with bills in my pocket that I worked for. The apartment is still sparse but functional. Mattress from a garage sale, $50. Small table from Craigslist, $25. Coffee pot from the thrift store, $7. The basics of living accumulated slowly, each purchase requiring calculation and consideration. Dr. Patel's office resembles a nicer version of the places I've been avoiding for 2 years. Comfortable chairs, recent magazines, a fish tank that masks the sound of anxiety. The receptionist recognizes my name, seems surprised I kept the appointment. Insurance, Medicaid pending. Sliding scale, we can work with that. Dr. Patel looks older than I remember, grayer around the temples, wearing glasses she didn't need before. She reviews my chart with careful attention, probably noting the 18-month gap in treatment. Margaret, how are you feeling? Tired. But I'm working again. The lump you mentioned on the phone, when did you first notice it? 6 months ago. Maybe 7. Her examination is thorough, professional, careful not to react. But I see her note-taking, the way she palpates twice, the pause before moving on. We need imaging, biopsy, blood work. Cost, with sliding scale, maybe $800 for diagnostics. Treatment depends. I do the math. 1 month's wages after rent and food. Possible, but heavy. How long can I wait? You shouldn't. But if I had to. She removes her glasses. Margaret, your chart shows perfect compliance until 2022. Then nothing. Life got complicated. Cancer doesn't wait. I know. We schedule tests. The money I'd saved for a couch will go instead to medical bills, food bank meals for a month. Poverty math. Every medical choice rearranges life. Walking home, I see someone new on my old park bench, cart full of recyclables. The cracks don't repair. New people just fall through. That night, my sister calls. Our twice-a-week ritual, polite but shallow. How's work? Steady. Apartment. Getting furnished. I could send money. I'm managing. Maggie, why won't you let me help? Because family help feels like failure in ways strangers' charity never does. Because I don't remember how to be a sister, only a burden. I need to do this myself. Why? Pride. Survival. She'll never understand. 2 years on a bench teaches lessons you can't pass across phone lines. That wants and needs merge. That dignity is optional. That independence, once lost, costs more than money to regain. April 20th, results arrive. Dr. Patel calls during my Target lunch break. The biopsy confirms malignancy. More aggressive this time. We need to discuss treatment. Survival rates? With treatment, 2 years is 60%. 5 years, 35. Without, 6 to 12 months. I sit in the break room, surrounded by posters about teamwork, calculating the economics of dying. Treatment cost? With insurance, maybe $15,000 annually. Without, much more. I thank her, hang up, return to stocking iPhone cases worth more than a day's pay. Customers buy them without thought, like protection can be bought at retail prices. That night I study statements, pay stubs, estimates. The math is cruel. I can afford to live or afford treatment, not both. Settlement funds cover 4 months of treatment or 8 months of rent. Janet, my supervisor, notices me drifting. Health stuff? Yeah. The good insurance or the bad? The no insurance. She nods. Take care of yourself. Nobody else will. After work, I walk home through streets becoming familiar. Sunrise catches windows of homes owned by people who live with choices, not necessities. I in my apartment. I drink coffee, watch light crawl across walls that feel temporary. 11 months of rent secured, 3 weeks of work done, test results threatening both. The jade plant would understand. Survival can mean blooming or merely enduring. You can't know until later. I have 6 to 12 months to decide what survival means, treatment or dignity, calling my sister or sparing her grief. The math of mortality leaves no room for hope, only time. For now, the coffee is good. The sunrise is free. The cancer is patient.